Can you learn 150 words a day in a foreign language? This is from one of the comments from my video from yesterday. Omar Walid says, I've learned 150 words in 7 hours. There is no limit to human brain. In 1 month of this effort, you'll have 4,500 words, which is B2 level vocabulary. And he got a bunch of answers. First one, English Dream says, this is impossible. There is no time. It would take hours a day. Mate, he literally says he spent 7 hours learning 150 words. Read, maybe, before answering. You will forget it in the end. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Uh, then there's another guy, anime something something. LMAO. I'd love to see you verify that you know even passively 4,500 words after just 1 month. You can blow through all the flashcards and think you're actually learning them, but if you actually got tested on it, I'd be surprised if you even got 20% correct. You'd be surprised. And then they got an answer, like those guys, by this guy called Straßenverkehr Geheimpolizei, which means that's a really good name. Um, which means Straßenverkehr Geheimpolizei means traffic secret police in German for some reason. I didn't know that such a thing existed, but to the previous guy, you're just jealous. Go back to your Steve Kaufman papa and enjoy your long-term marathon learning process. Pathetic. Go back to your Steve Kaufman papa. I love this guy. I hope he comments more. So here, Omar said that he learned 150 words in 7 hours, and that's at that pace you'd be able to learn 4,500 in in a month. And then he said that there's no limit to what the human brain can achieve, and I'm sure there are some physical limits to what we can achieve, right? But if you think there is no limit, you're much more likely to achieve more than if you think you can't learn more than 5 words a day or some nonsense like that. 150 words a day is very doable. Anyone who's uh, learned memory techniques can memorize 150 words in an afternoon easily. And he said he did it in 7 hours, which is pretty slow. For my standards, that's pretty slow. For him, that's good. For most people, that's pretty good. But if you train your memorization skills a little bit, it's really not that hard to memorize 150 words. And memory champions do 150 words in not in 7 hours. They do it in like half an hour or 15 minutes, or less than that maybe. So it's doable. You just have to train that skill. Learning is a skill, and we never got told. Well, I don't know where you're from, but in most countries that I've been to and that I've grown up in, we were just given stuff to learn, and we weren't told how to learn anything. So people in general are terrible at learning unless you learn how to learn, which they don't teach you how to learn. But if you learn how to learn, if you learn memory techniques, if you learn how space repetition works, things like that, and you have a good strategy, of course you can learn 150 words, 150 sentences, and more than that in a day. And 4,500 words and sentences in a month, that's very doable. So let me show you with some examples. This is a list of the most common 300, well, 300 common adjectives in German. I'm not sure if they are the most common, but they are some of the most common 300 adjectives. Like happy, new, first, last, long, short, great, little, big, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, 300 of them. So if you were to do what Omar here did, you'd learn them in 2 days, more or less. It's a list of 300 sentences. This, if you turn it into audio files, is around 10 minutes of audio. You can't learn a 10-minute audio file in 2 days, 10-minute speech. You seriously can't learn it. Okay, let's talk about science because a lot of you love talking about science, and science this, science that, even if the actual science is very unscientific when it comes to languages. Because if you actually read the science by Stephen Krashen and those people, the science doing science people, um, there's no actual experiments there. It's just, well, we've observed that immigrant kids learn English way faster than when they move to the US than US students learn in Spanish in classes. And the immigrant kids learn because they watch TV. And no shit. So, immigrant kids, mostly Spanish speaking, who go to school all day in English, and they are forced to speak in English all day, and they are forced to read and write in English, and they interact in English with other kids all day, and they go home and they watch TV all day in English as well. Learn faster than American kids going, or American adults going to classes a couple times a week and doing Spanish there. Like, that's the extent of the science in Steven Krashen's and the input people's, like the inputs, the science says the input. No, that's all bullshit. There's no that's the extent of the science. There's no big experiments that's really like there's a control group and these people are doing traditional studying and these people are doing just input, and there's none of that. There's no. It's the most unscientific thing ever. There's no science for this. All right. There's only experience by people like me and people who have done actual experiments. But because we don't have a PhD, sorry, I only have a master's. Yeah, it's not science. So there's that. But let's talk about what the actual scientists, like the science people, are saying, the actual linguists. In order to remember a word, you need to see it in context 10 to 20 times. Depends on the person, depends on how good your memory is and the quality time you spend with the word. I think a lot of people in the comments should spend more quality time with their fathers instead of of words. But anyway, I digress. The quality of the exposure to the word in context and the quantity of exposures, and 10 to 20 is usually the thing. Like if you get exposed to a word in a sentence in actual context 10 to 20 times, you remember it. And if you do it 20 to 30 times more or less, not only will you remember it, but you will also be able to, it's likely that you'll be able to then use it when you need to say it. I highly recommend you practice speaking as well, because if you only do that, when you need to actually use that word, it's going to be very hard. All right. So I would say, like, this is what the science says plus my own input here. 10 to 20 times of exposure, at least 20 to 30 would be better, of the word in context. And then, so 20 to 30 times that you see the word or you hear the word in a sentence. And then 10 to 20 more times of you actually saying the word. Right? So 20 to 30 of input, 10 to 20 of output with the word. That is not that much. All right? 150 sentences, 5 minutes of audio. And if you have to get 20 repetitions of input and half of that of output, so 5 to 10, 10, 20 of input, 10 of output, to remember a word and a sentence, that's 30 reps in total with that sentence. So 5 minutes, 30 times, that's 150 minutes. That's 2 hours and a half to learn 150 sentences and to learn them well, to be able to to be able to not only to understand them, but also to be able to then use them, to remember them, to be able to say them. Right? If you said each one of the sentences 10 times, you'll be able to say it. 150 minutes, 2 hours and a half. That's not that much, because once you've read while listening and you've repeated the sentences aloud a few times, you can get a lot more reps simply by listening to them over and over again while you do something else. I go for a run and I'll listen to them, and I'll be doing whatever. I'll even go to the beach and just lay there. And no, I don't lay much on the beach. I just go for walks. But I'll, I listen to them all the time. And a 5 minute audio file of 150 sentences, you can listen to it a dozen times in an hour. So 30 total reps with this list of sentences is nothing. So you could learn 150, you could learn 300 if you're really motivated and you're an effective memorizer. It's really not that hard. And what these people are saying about forgetting everything, okay, maybe you learn them, but then eventually you'll forget everything. Yeah, you know, you forget everything if you don't use it. Like if you learn a language and you don't speak it for 10 years, of course, you'll forget it. Like I haven't sparred in like a year now because I injured my shoulder. If I go back once my shoulder's fully healed and start sparring, start boxing or doing Muay Thai or MMA or something, I'll be rusty as hell at first and I'll suck for a while, like for a few weeks at least, until I get back to like my timing's back. I remember you know, go back to like being in the flow. This is the same. If you don't use it, you lose it. And a language is the same, a sport is the same, a playing an instrument. If you stop using it, you start forgetting. There's a forgetting curve. But the thing is, the more reps you get in the beginning, the more time you'll need to forget those sentences. And because you can simply review it by listening to the audio files, you can review it daily easily. 150 sentences at 5 minutes, 4,500 words with sentences, like Omar said in the comment. That's around 4 hours of audio, I would say. Depends on the language and the speed of the audio, but around 4 hours of audio. You can listen to the whole thing once or twice a week easily. And if you've done your 20, 30, 50 reps, whatever, in the beginning when you were learning each one of those sentences, and then once or twice a week you listen to them again, there's no way you're forgetting them. And that's how spaced repetition works. You need a lot of repetition in the first day or in the first couple of days, and then you review those sentences once per day for a few days, then every 3 days, then every week, then every couple of weeks, and then every month, every 3 months. And at some point, you just won't need to review them. You remember them. This is when you should start doing actual like authentic input. Just listen to native speaker podcasts and you'll hear all those words and all those sentence structures in context. So you don't need to go back to the vocab over and over again, right? If you learn 90, 95, 99% of the vocab first by just uh, cramming it like this and doing lots of reps with it, then you can switch to native speaker content and you'll see that vocab over and over. And then you can maintain that vocab and keep increasing it even with with authentic inputs. But in the beginning, this is the way like, it's not only that you can do it, you should do it like this. You should try to learn as many words as possible, as fast as possible. Right? So, how to do it is pretty simple. If you don't, and those of you who don't like doing mnemonics, it's very, very simple. If you don't like to use mnemonics, the only thing you need to do is take this take a list of words and with their example sentences. And someone was asking in the comments as well, where do you get the words from? Like 30 new words a day, where do you get them from? Well, you start with the most common verbs in the language. You can find a list anywhere. Just or ask ChatGPT to create a one. You learn a few hundred words at least, a few hundred verbs at least, then a few hundred adjectives like this, and then you start learning nouns. And you should also learn your language islands, which are the most important sentences for you to be able to speak the language. But it's easy to find words. There are lots of lists online anywhere. So you have the words, but then how do you learn them? Simple. You read, you play the audio files that you created with text to speech software, and you read while listening, and you look at the meaning only if you don't know what it means. At first, you should look at the meaning, and you do it all the way to the end. Again, it's 5 minutes of audio for 150 sentences. So you can read while listening 2 or 3 times in a row, and after 3 or 4 times reading this, you won't have to look at the meaning, because you'll be able to read it while listening, and you'll know more or less how pronunciation works, and you'll know the meaning because you've looked it up a few times already. And then you keep listening to it, put it on a playlist, keep listening to it. You keep reading while listening, and you repeat it aloud, you shadow it. Ja, so you're hearing it, and die gute Nachricht hat alle glücklich gemacht. Sie hat ein neues Auto gekauft. Ich besuche diese Stadt zum ersten Mal. And you do it as fast as you can. With this will develop, you will improve your pronunciation, and will help you develop fluency as well, to speak faster, better, like more, with less hesitation if you do this a lot. But also repeating things aloud will help you remember them better. It's active learning instead of just passive. But that's basically it. If you don't want to use mnemonics, you simply have to do a lot of repetition with the same lines. Just have the translation next to it, and read while listening. And the moment you're able to read while listening without looking things up all the time, you read while listening and you shadow it. You say it aloud, and you do it from start to finish 20, 30 times, as many times as necessary. If you want to make sure that you know them really, really well, then yeah, dozens of times. But again, if you do it like 10 times in a day, and then you review the phrases once a day by listening to it, maybe you won't remember them super well. But if you listen to it every single day, in a few weeks, you'll know them. And if you are not sure that you know them well, you can always try to translate. Yeah, you test yourself. You do active recall. Yeah, so she bought a new car. How do I say that in German? Sie hat ein neues Auto gekauft. Sie hat ein neues Auto gekauft. Okay. Uh, you do that with all of them. The bell was set. How do I say that? Oh, the forgot my thoughts. I couldn't say that. All right. I try again tomorrow. You do it with the whole list, and tomorrow you'll remember a lot more of the sentences. Right. So listen while reading, more listening, listen while reading and repeat it, shadow it at the same time, having them in front of you, and then active recall. And you do this, and of course you can learn 100, not only 100 words, but 100 words a day with sentences. So you learn a lot of vocab and the grammar as well, because you're learning grammar by doing this. Like I said, lots of repetition. The vocab, you can find it online anywhere. I've got lots of lists like this, but you can find anything. You can create them with ChatGPT on your own as well if you want. And really important, like, consistency and lots of repetition. And also really important, just stop with the limiting beliefs. Stop with the you can't do like 30 words. That's crazy. No, just try and do it, and try harder, instead of like being really lazy and then looking for excuses before you even begin, because that's that's a that's loser behavior. Don't do that.